Welcome, traders. Welcome to the SPACs attack. And yes, they are moving. Guess what? We're going to talk all about them right here on the one and only the SPACs attack. You guys, start us off with a like. We need to get a lot more people in here. Let everybody know the SPACs are moving again. I mean, if you look at the movers list, which we're about to take a look at, I mean, that's looking pretty healthy to me. We'll take a look at that. Of course, I got my brains with me. Chris Katje in the background. You guys hit the like. Let's get SPACs attack started. How we doing out there, traders? Let's go ahead and bring on the brains to the show. You guys know him, Chris Opedia. What's going on, man?
What's going on, Mitch? Yeah, how we doing today? We had a great EV con yesterday. I was happy to be able to do an interview with Embark Trucks, going public with NGAB. Once again, we had the CEO and founder on the show a couple weeks ago. I talked to the CFO yesterday. Also saw some other SPACs and DSPACs yesterday. Luminar, Hellbiz, and some others. So a great day. Of course, we missed SPACs attack, but always nice to get these Benzinga events done as well.
Definitely, I would say it's fun to watch. And I mean, we had Hellbiz on there. I watched the XPEV. I was really paying attention to see the long outlook from a lot of these CEOs, right? And seeing how fast we were adopting these technologies, because this plays into a lot of what we're seeing also in the SPAC industry. So at least from what I can see, I'm looking for a big 2 to 5 years. So we're looking at, let's say, 2023 and 2026 being the big EV years. Of course, we want to figure out which potential winner can happen before then. Of course, we don't want to get in after the stock's already at 60. So that's why we really do here at SPACs Attack. We uncover the SPACs to give you a perspective so that you can make your informed decision. And that's what we hope for. And I mean, we're seeing another wave here, Chris. I don't know if it's going to continue to last or if it's just a kind of momentary thing, but I am seeing that wave. We talked a little bit about it on Monday, but look forward to seeing the headlines. And I think you're going to start seeing also, pay attention in the headlines. There might be some clues that the trend is changing. A lot of the times, what is that going to be? We know it. What happens a lot of times, Chris? Analysts chase what? That price action. So we'll talk a little bit about some of those in the headlines. Let's get to it. And like always, Chris, inform us. Take us back to those headlines.
All right. Yeah, I've got headlines from today, also headlines from yesterday a little bit. We'll combine those today. Let's start with some analyst notes. So we got Volta, VLTA, Needham initiating coverage with a buy rating, a price target of $15. This is, a recent DSPAC. This is a charging infrastructure play. A decent EV name to look at. We're at 1239 today, down 5%. This note was out yesterday. It did get a little bit lift on that news. But again, a lot of EV charging plays out there. The ones that get the analyst interest, are definitely going to, have those better reactions with shares. Then we have SoFi, SOFI. Jefferies initiating coverage with a buy rating and a price target of $25. I'm sure we're going to get into SoFi later on the show. This has been a favorite one of mine. I am long shares of SoFi. It's been on a nice run over the past couple of days. It's actually gotten a $28 price target, a $25 price target. If you got in when I made that real bullish call and said I was going long, you are up on that position now. So keep an eye out, SOFI. Then we have Danimer Scientific, DNMR. They announced a deal with Chevron Phillips Chemical to collaborate to develop technology for lower cost biodegradable polymer manufacturing. Again, these sustainability companies going public via SPAC, it's always nice to get those announced partnerships and deals. Danimer has some great partners. If you look at the chart today, shares are up 10%. We're at 1742. It also got an analyst note from Cohen and Company initiating with an outperform and a price target of $21. Danimer was the target of a short report from Muddy Waters. But since that short report, shares have been on a run. Keep an eye out, DNMR. Then we have Joby Aviation. Joby shares got initiation from Morgan Stanley, an overweight rating and a $16 price target. Again, we talk about these EVTOL plays, electric vertical takeoff and landing companies. Joby getting a call out there in that growing space. Then we have Fisker, FSR. Tudor Pickering initiating coverage with a buy rating and a $19 price target. Mitch and I just hammered on Fisker the other day, talking about how that next catalyst is November, when they have I believe it's the Los Angeles Auto Show, where they're going to show off their vehicle. That's a major catalyst for them. We're seeing analysts start to get into this one. Another one that we'll talk about later on the show. Then we have Berkshire Grey, BGRY. They're a leader in artificial intelligence-enabled robotic solutions. They announced a supply chain deal. They continue to win awards and get these deals for e-commerce order fulfillment. We all know, e-commerce order, the growth of e-commerce, how important it is for companies going forward. Keep an eye out on this one. And FTCV, the eToro SPAC merger, have to share this news that they have actually delayed their merger vote. It was planned to be in the third quarter. They're now saying the fourth quarter. It looks like regulators are circling that one, and it is coming under tightened scrutiny with their ties to crypto and other related elements. And we have ELMS, Electric Last Mile Solutions. They announced a binding purchase order for 1,000 units of their urban delivery vehicle from Randy Marion Automotive Group. Production is scheduled to start mid-September, and they will ship their first items from this contract September 28th. So that's a catalyst coming up next week already. And then Skills, SKLZ. I already see someone mentioning it in the chat. Mitch, we didn't get the NFL game that we anticipated, but with Skills, we've got Big Buck Hunter Marksman. So if you've ever played the games where you try to find the deer and shoot the deer, Skills announced Big Buck Hunter Marksman. People are going to be able to play that against each other and bet and wager with Skills technology. So Big Buck Hunter Marksman, no NFL game yet, but we do have the hunting game. Then news out from DMYI partner IonQ. We, of course, interviewed Niccolo De Masi and Peter Chapman recently. This is a quantum computing company. They announced a deal with General Electric. So that partnership is going to help the private industry and government evaluate risk across finance, climate, geopolitics, and other complex systems. So again, IonQ continues to sign a ton of contracts, a ton of partnerships, now getting General Electric on board. This deal is set to be voted on next week. This one is going to get a lot of attention and a lot of eyes. So if you are not watching DMYI already, it's definitely on my watch. And then ARK Funds, DraftKings, a big purchase yesterday for both ARK-K and ARK-W. Almost 600,000 shares added to ARK-K and 159,000 to ARK-W. Also 53,600 shares of Genie for ARK-W. And then we have vote set. CTAC, their vote was postponed to September 29th. That is the second postponement for the SPAC deal. We have MRAC October 13th with Enjoy, LEGO October 14th with Algoma Steel, October 20th BCYP with SAB Biotherapeutics. And then talking about our votes that recently happened, we have AMHC, that merger was approved with Jasper Therapeutics. 92.6% shares redeemed. They waived their minimum cash requirement. If you saw AMHC shares this morning, they absolutely took off. This is one that I called out a couple days ago that it was likely to see heavy redemption, and it was already a low float SPAC. It looks like less than 1 million shares will be left after this redemption. So AMHC shares were on a tear today. They have pulled back, but this is definitely one to watch. It's going to be low float for a while. Then LATN was approved with ProCaps, 57.1% of shares redeemed. That will close next week. PROC. Of note here that the sponsor is buying $20 million worth of those redeemed shares. So stepping in here, on that redemption. And then also FUSE Fuse was approved, will trade as Money Lion. I saw that one called out in the chat as well. Money Lion, new ticker will be ML. That's what I've got for headlines, Mitch. And we definitely got to take a look at some of those recent merger votes on the chart, because AMHC absolutely ripped this morning.
Yeah, definitely. One thing we have been seeing in the SPAC industry is some breakouts, and this is one of the things we're going to pay attention. We've been pointing at a pattern here, but I think there's an alert somewhere here. Something's going on, Chris. I don't know what's going on, man. I don't know.
I see a lot of people. I see a lot of people in the background.
Happy birthday
wait.
to Chris.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Chrissy. Chrisopedia.
The SPAC assassin. We're gonna get so dinged for that, but it was worth it.
It was so worth it.
I saw these faces pop up in the green room here, and I was like, all right, what is going on? How am I supposed to make it through headlines when I got Brent, Spencer, and AB here looking and staring? But so I had a feeling something was up. Brent, do you have a candle burning right now? Is that?
It's your birthday.
It's to bring the
Chris
fun
Wish.
sway.
Oh my goodness! Ready?
Oh, no! All the way across Michigan. Oh my God!
Oh my goodness!
Good job, buddy.
Oh,
Happy
man.
birthday.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, good. Happy birthday, Chris.
Thank you.
Hopefully, next time you come to town, I won't be out of town.
Yeah, I know. I missed you, Spencer. I mean, AB came out, but no Spencer. So, and Brett was out of town. So two of my favorite people, I mean, were gone. So,
Chris, I hope it feels good to be 26.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely was the old guy when I came to town. So I think you know that, AB and Mitch. So got to hang out with all them young kids and play dad and chaperone. So it was quite the time.
Nice. All right, we'll let you get back to it, but wanted to say happy birthday.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Later.
Brent, I don't think the BSer is a great name for a news wire guy.
It's my initials. Brent Slava.
I'm just saying,
Brent
man.
Slava.
I
I'm just
don't know.
saying.
AB has a point there. I feel like.
But the thing is, it's kind of like it's an
Oh.
oxymoron.
Yeah, it's ironic.
Because
It's ironic. It's good.
Because I'm super.
I usually
real.
don't get irony.
Brent is never BS. That's the thing.
You can't BS a BSer. My dad used to call
Hey.
me the BSer when I was like 6, and he thought it was so funny calling me the BSer. I had no idea what he meant, what he really meant. I was like, it's just my initials.
Little did he know what he was in for.
All right, y'all. Everybody have a good day.
I guess. Smash.
Thank you, guys.
Smash a
Have a
like
good
for
day.
Chris's birthday.
Kill it,
Yeah,
guys.
can I at least get some likes for my birthday? I mean, what are
Oh,
we
yeah.
at? We're at 52. We gotta at least hit 150 likes for my birthday. I mean, I
Nice
could have been
guys.
off today, but I'm working because I'm like, I mean, what else would I do, right? I'm gonna work today. I'll probably have some birthday plans over the weekend, but today it's all about, I got SPACs Attack. I got the Roadmap NFT show later, and I'm going to be writing some articles. So, but Mitch, I mean, we had some merger votes, right? And we had some rips, right? AMHC, I mean, this was one that I called out and I said, hey, this is a biotech SPAC. I don't know a ton about this company, but I do know that the biotech SPACs have done quite well, and they end up having these huge pops, right? Because they end up being low float. The pop doesn't always last, as you see today, but it definitely, was worth calling out. Now, the thing I'll say is that this one has pulled back, Mitch. We're up 20% now to 1225 here. I think we see some resistance today, but I wouldn't be surprised, and again, not financial advice, I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing make another move in the future, because it is going to be, low float, under 1 million shares until, the lockup. So this is one to definitely keep on radar. Again, I don't know a ton about the company, but AMHC, what are you seeing here, Mitch? I mean, again, it looks like the people who were up at 4 a.m. were definitely the ones who, if they got into this early, definitely got the advantage here.
Yeah, one thing that we pointed out on this move is that it's a quick one, right? It doesn't take long to get up towards those levels. And if you look right here, what happens, right? So 4 a.m. hits, there's barely any shares. All of a sudden, boom, it starts lifting right here, guys. It gets through this high, $14, and in less than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, it's already up there towards 19. Takes a second, and it's up there towards 21, but it doesn't last up there, and it just starts coming on a serious downtrend. I actually, I gotta give myself a little tap on the head, because we've talked about this. That, I mean, we got to be careful with these, because we haven't seen them really recover too many times. There has been some of them that have recovered from this big push and then eventually getting back up there. But I took a shot on this, Chris, actually live on live trading. I went off basically, off support. I was trying to get it. I was seeing this little bunch up, and I saw the 3 bottoming actions that I always talk about, right? And I went after it. I got in here around 1350, and that thing just went really quickly down on me. Glad I had my out spot and stuck to my out, because guess what happened? I'd be holding the bag right now, Chris.
What did we hit in pre-market on this, Mitch?
Ooh, 21.
So I actually made a trade on this. I got in under 11, and I was out at, I think, under 14. So I missed the huge run, right? But again, quick profit. In and out, to know that, it's likely to fall on that downside. But Mitch, I mean, not a bad idea to get in, and good job with your stop there. Again, I think we do see the pressure the rest of the day, but I think there could be another leg here in a couple days. We saw this, months ago, Mitch, even before this trend came back with the redemption plays, the low float biotech SPACs. It doesn't take much for them to pop, right? All it takes is a press release, some news. So this is one I'll be watching. It's going to be Jasper Therapeutics. I'm going to watch this one for a while, because, we've seen this with some of these SPACs, that even after the redemption, that there's still some room to run on news or catalyst, right? And we look for that story a lot. So I'll be looking at this one. Mitch, what about, so the other deals were, we have LATN. LATN approved their merger with ProCaps. ProCaps helps drug companies make pills and gels and different liquid treatments. This is a well-known international company. It's got real revenue. So only 57% of shares were redeemed. And you saw that note, right, that the sponsor is actually buying some of those redeemed shares, saying, hey, you guys want to redeem your shares at net asset value? I'll take them, because I think this thing's going to be worth more than $10, this year and a couple of years. And then you have the reaction here, right? People got out because they said, hey, the float's not going to be as low as we thought. Let's just move on to the next trade. So that's why I caution, right, that if you're going to play the heavy redemption, low float, you got to know the story, you got to know your limits, and you got to know your risk reward, right? Because this thing could keep falling. Before it goes back over $10. Mitch, anything on this chart, LATN?
No, I mean, I think what you just said is the important part here. It's not about the technicals. It's about understanding what your risk and reward really is in these plays, and understand also what your strategy is. If you're looking for a quick trade, understand you're going to need to be there and need to be focused on it. Be there at that pre-market time of 4 o'clock if you really want to get the maximum return on this strategy, really. And so what I always say is understand what you trade. If you're more of an investor, you don't have to stress too much about a 25-cent swing or a quick move like that. But if you're a trader, that's when you definitely need to be in that hot seat and looking for these moves and being quick on these moves, because we've seen it in SPACs that they move fast. It's a fast move up and then a stair step down. Fast move up, stair step down. So if you want to catch those fast moves up, you got to know what you're getting into.
And then Mitch, CTAC. So CTAC,
this
this is one we got to talk about, right? So they're merging with Core. They've actually postponed their merger vote date twice now. So if you look at that chart, I mean, it's traded, pretty flat over the past, so long. And then all of a sudden it started having these, big spikes up and down because people didn't know what to do with it, right? It had 91% of shares redeemed, so people were going to play it, as a low float. But then it was, hey, the vote's getting postponed. Is this deal in trouble? I don't think the deal's necessarily in trouble, but the delay, I think people, again, they're getting in and out on this, right? Because there's other trades to make. So CTAC was one that I was watching and ready to get in. Right now I'm on the sidelines, but I definitely think this could be a play for next week. And then, Mitch, we have to talk about TMC, right? The metals company. I hate to do this, but we got to play the education game, right? And then the know your plan and know who you follow and what you listen to. So TMC, this was formerly SOAC. This was another one I traded, right? I did the in and out move quick, right? I took my profits. Well, what happened was TMC is now a huge low float name. And some trading groups circulated this. And again, I've got nothing against trading groups, people, sharing ideas. The problem is when people are giving unrealistic price targets, right? You had someone throwing out saying this was going to go to $40, telling all their followers, that this was the play, right? Get into TMC, where you've heard Mitch and I talk about it, right? This is the company that's going to mine metals off the floor. They're years away from revenue. So if you're playing this, it's a short-term trade. Well, the short-term trade looks like it's over. I mean, there were several opportunities to make profits, take profits, but now you've got people left holding the bag, right, as this thing crashes. Mitch, I don't know how else to tell people, right? We talk about it all the time, to know your risk reward, know who you follow. When you're following people who are saying this thing's going to run to $40 with nothing to show for it, I don't get it. So everyone out there, be careful. Again, these low float trades, high redemption, they're good trades, but they're risky. And you have to know the risk reward, and you have to be following to be able to get in and out of these things.
Yeah, and often ask yourself the question, what I look for is what type of are the big movers out there right now? If we look, the biggest movers recently haven't been, let's say, penny stocks or crypto stocks. It's really actually been these SPACs that have taken these huge, massive rips. At least if we're not counting the close, but at least the actual extension has been a lot of these SPACs. And so what you got to ask yourself is, hey, do these guys have a conflict of interest? Are they bringing up these stocks just because they're the high flyers? And I think that's what's happening. And that's what you saw there, Chris, was someone tried to pick off a high flyer, say that it was going to continue flying. And what they didn't do is the due diligence, and that we try to bring you here on SPACs Attack so that you can know, hey, this is a pre-revenue company. And how we always talked about, story is so important. Yes, the story outlook long-term is good, but the story short-term has a lot of walls that it's going to run into to get towards that revenue that it wants in the long run.
Yeah, definitely. Always just have to throw out, the cautions. Yes, Solar, this was SOAC SPAC. Again, I played this one, right? I got in and out. I mean, this thing was trading under $10 going into the merger vote. I picked up shares under $10 and I got out, I think, in like the $12 range, right? Not a huge That's a 20% gain though in one or 2 days. I mean, I'll take it. Again, I'm all about singles, doubles, and long-term investing rather than trying to hit these 100% gainers. And I think that was the problem here, was you had someone when these things were trading at 12 or 15 saying it was going to go to 40. I mean, that's a big move, right? And yeah, it's low float, so it doesn't take much, but you got to know and you got to pay attention. So Mitch, what else are we seeing moving out there? We just talked about all the recent DeSPAC moves. I know we've got QS, QuantumScape. This was one that we talked about the other day. You really liked the setup here and called this one out. And we're up double digits today in QuantumScape. What are you seeing on that chart today?
Yeah, one thing that I always like to do is find the multiple bottom actions. This one gave us multiple bottom actions multiple times and then pushed up. What I said was literally when we had this push up, I said, can we get an inside day? Can we hold within that candle and not break down through the shadow? That was my only concern really for the downside coming right back down. And then what did we do today? We didn't even come down to test yesterday's low. We went just straight up through that resistance. That's what you wanted to see. Now you can start calling that more of a support. You want to see that become a support. It's okay if it even pulls back towards that level, but from here on out, as long as it can start coming back towards these levels, you can see multiple resistance here. Now it was resistance here. Let's see if it does come back and creates a support, but it's looking good. Looking like it wants to head up towards 30, 39. The next major resistance, that's where I would see it kind of slowing down a little bit and needing some gas to continue going. But one thing that we always wanted to see is when we get the change of trend, can we get some volume confirmation to show that bulls are trying to take control? 44 million shares traded here when the day prior to that was 7 million and prior to that 14 million, showing you what? It doesn't show you that there was necessarily bulls there. But when you see the bullish pattern show up there, that's what makes you start thinking that. There's no guarantee, but that's how I start thinking of the chart. And then what do we need to do is see confirmation. Today is a clear example of confirmation. You get a lower volume bar and then a higher volume bar today on the breakout.
Mitch, I want to back up on QuantumScape, right? We've got a question here in the chat. Who do they have a contract with? Volkswagen, Microsoft. So I have an article that I wrote last year when this deal was announced, and I went back to it today. And I knew, of course, so Volkswagen has invested $300 million in the company. They have a partnership, a joint venture with them. Also, Bill Gates is an investor in QuantumScape. But Mitch, I had forgotten that also QuantumScape got an investment from Breakthrough Energy Ventures. Now, that is a energy investment vehicle that Bill Gates created. But the other investors in Breakthrough Energy, Jeff Bezos, Jack Ma from Alibaba, Richard Branson, Michael Bloomberg. I mean, you're talking some of the most well-known billionaires. They're invested in QuantumScape, right? And also this company was founded by Jagdeep Singh. He was the co-founder of several other technology companies, including one that was acquired by Quest Communications. And then Kensington Capital, the SPAC that brought this to market, on their board of directors is the former engineer at GM and Toyota. I mean, this is a company that has a ton of experience, their leaders in the auto market and the technology market. And I mean, Mitch, we saw this thing, come down from the hundreds, right, to 25, then it hit 20, and 20 was really where, you really liked it and said, that this thing was looking good on the chart. I mean, I look at those investors and I think, hey, these people are betting on this being a key battery provider going forward. And I still like QuantumScape for the long term. And it looks like investors are starting to pay attention to the story and the chart once again here in QS.
Like I said, we'll see if it gets up towards the resistance. I do like the chart now. Strong candle. And if we know what this is a nice setup, nice continuation. You got a reversal of trend there with good volume. I'll keep an eye on QS. Not a bad day there. All right, let's go ahead and take a look. It looked like Joby making a giant move on up. You talked a little bit about this one in your headlines, but definitely, guys, look at that big push. We just had them on Power Hour, didn't we?
Yeah, Joby was on Power Hour again. These EVTOL plays, they differentiate themselves based on, the number of passengers in their plane, how far along on the timeline they are. But really, the sector just looks exciting, Mitch. I mean, if you live in a big city and you sit in traffic for hours and hours, I think you just have to love a company like this coming to market, right? And being able to maybe take a short flight, to get to your destination quicker and at the same cost. And some of them are even going to use, like an Uber model, right? Where you just essentially say, hey, I'm ready to be picked up. And you get in the plane, with some other people, you split the cost and you're off. And I think it's great technology. And you've got, Joby, you've got Blade, you've got, others out there too. And, I definitely think, again, as we talk about story, Mitch, that the story with these EVTOLs is starting to really catch on here.
Yeah, I agree with you. One thing just to kind of throw back to our event yesterday, guys, if you didn't see it, we had a lot of these mobility companies. And I think it's important because you start seeing the story that they're building. And like not a SPAC, but just to mention FUV was there. And that's one company that the CEO has really kind of changed my perspective on these. When I first started thinking of, smaller vehicles and these kind of different mobility products, I was like, I'm not sure if it's going to be adopted, that kind of thing. I was speculative, really. But the more and more I'm hearing these CEOs speak about what the future is to bring, it makes sense because a lot of us get to the point where we realize, hey, and especially now that you have the remote workers, we don't need that big vehicle. We don't need that car like we did, let's say, in the early 90s or the early 2000s, where you had everyone grabbing the minivans and they were the big thing. Now it's not about that. It's not about having a big car. It's about what? It's about saving money, looking for your future. And I think a lot of people are more along looking towards their retirement and kind of in a good living versus focus only on having, let's say, the best car. And this is what we're seeing nowadays. And I think you're going to continue seeing the trend, whether it be stocks like Joby, whether it be FUV, different vehicles. This is not going away. And this is something we're going to continue to see going into the next generation.
Yeah, I mean, I was real excited to hear Mark, the CEO of Arcimoto, speak. I also watched, a panel where Helbiz and Lime, right, two micro-mobility scooter companies present. Mitch, the other one I'm looking at, as maybe a long-term play, PPGH recently announced that SPAC deal. That was that company that does micro-mobility in Asia, and they're expanding into some other countries. I think they're in Taiwan right now and expanding into China and India. I mean, you mentioned, right, that here in the U.S., we're seeing where, people work from home, these shorter trips. If you combine that trend and then also the trend I just said with EVTOL, right, traffic congestion, in Asia, both those trends are hitting together. So you have people looking to get around on electric scooters, electric bikes, right? Motorcycles. I mean, yeah, you're going to see electric vehicles sell in these countries, but ultimately, I think those micro mobility companies win in the Asian market. And so some of these international SPACs that are getting, kind of underfollowed here, I think have a great long-term story. Again, I'm not familiar. I don't, I've never been to those countries, but I know the story there, and I've seen the pictures of people getting around on these vehicles. So definitely a story to watch.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's always a cost-efficient way to travel. And if you look at these heavy populated cities with, where you can get into a car and spend 30 minutes in traffic, or you can ride the scooter, got to the same place in 10 minutes, I think I'm going to start figuring out which one seems more efficient. All right, let's keep going. Let's go into another area here. You did talk about Danimer Scientific. I do like this daily. I just want to point out that just to kind of put it on people's radars. This was one of the companies that at first really looked strong and now really trying to find a bottom here. I might even take a shot on this one. It's not in an industry that I would necessarily always trade, so it's good to diversify, right? And I think this one could really keep going. What exactly does Danimer Scientific do, Chris?
So Danimer Scientific, this is a sustainability plastics play, right? And they have some huge partnerships. You heard me talk about that Chevron one, but again, they had that short report out from Muddy Waters. But if you pull back the layers, I mean, Danimer works with Pepsi, they work with Mars Wrigley, they work with Nestle. They've got investments from some of these companies. We have seen some companies that have big partners and investments, turn out to actually have red flags. But to me, these are some big names partnered with them. I trust that they've done their due diligence. They've done their research. And I like Danimer Scientific. I like the story, right? Everyone's looking for these ESG plays, right? Better for the environment. And they're creating plastic products that are 100% biodegradable. I mean, that's important, right? That's something that people want. That's something that companies want. I mean, Mitch, every week you hear a major company talk about how they're going to, do some initiative for recycling or for, less use of an item, right? We see it with McDonald's. We see it with restaurants. We see it with Pepsi and their plastic bottles, right? All the companies are going that way. Companies like Danimer are going to be able to pick up those contracts, those partnerships, and win long term.
Well, just to kind of, just to show that I look at the same types of looks, guys. I always look for what? I'm looking for that 3 bottoming action. So we get that 1 bottoming action, 2 bottoming action. And right now we just quickly broke through the support and recovered it. Those are the things I look for, guys. It's not like it changes up, you know what I mean? And what these do is they get it on my radar. It doesn't necessarily mean I have to take these. And I think that's an important thing too also, is just figure out what type of stocks you like and then look for that pattern. Look for it to continue showing up, and then you can figure out how you want to attack it.
How about DKNG, Mitch?
How about it?
I'm looking at the 1 month chart right now, and we are at a 1 month low today, right? This is one we've called out going into the NFL and the college football season, right? And that story played out a little bit, right? It had a nice run up. Now it's having a pullback. And then today we get the short call from Hedge Eye, right? And Mitch, I mean, you and I have talked about sports betting a lot. We've been on these sports betting apps. We've seen the data, the market share numbers. And this really caught me off guard, right? Hedge Eye says that the DraftKings brand is losing momentum. I don't know where he's getting that from. I don't think DraftKings is losing momentum at all. I mean, DraftKings and FanDuel are the leaders in the space. They're the leaders in every state they're in. I mean, I could make an argument, and I have, that Barstool was losing momentum, right? They did in Michigan, right? They lost market share. But I don't think you can make the case that DraftKings is losing momentum. They're also expanding into media. They're expanding into NFTs. And now they have the possibility of acquiring, Entain, this European company. Where is the momentum that they're losing at? Where is that at, Mitch? Do you see it? Because I don't.
I don't. But this 1 month chart shows me a lot. What does it show you? It shows you that it likes to hold this trend line, right? Even though it does come up, it bounces, comes through, wicks, holds it. Wicks, holds it. It holds that trend right now. So to say that this is kind of losing momentum, I mean, you could call it, if you wanted to call it, on the price action, because it's kind of gone sideways for a couple months, pretty much almost a year. If you really look at it, pretty much a year sideways, right? And so this is what I think he's seeing. We've gone a year sideways. Why aren't you breaking out? Well, there's been a lot of innovation throughout this process, and there's been a lot of investments done. And I think one thing you're going to see is that the key is, as long as we can keep holding these pullbacks, because even though, and I'm going more to the daily now so you can see the volatility in those pops, even though you get those pops, every time we come back towards these levels, we've been catching a bid. And what was Kathy Wood doing? I think trying to catch the bid also. She's seeing the same thing that we see. Kathy Woods did take some buys in this yesterday. And I think the reason why she was taking buys wasn't because she saw the brand slowing down. If anything, I think she's thinking, hey, I took some down here at this trend line. let's go ahead and try to get closer to it right here and see if we get right back through that resistance. Next thing you know, DKNG is ripping through that high.
Yeah, I mean, in that acquisition news, I mean, I've got a couple articles out about it on the site. So if you want to learn more, you can look for DraftKings or MGM on the Benzinga site. But I'll say quickly, and based on an analyst note I saw yesterday from Bank of America too. So MGM owns 50% of BetMGM, a joint venture with Entain. MGM has first right of refusal, essentially, for anyone to acquire that. So DraftKings is going to struggle to be able to acquire all of Entain without MGM being involved. So what I think is going to happen, Mitch, is that if this deal ends up getting pushed forward, you're going to see DraftKings acquire Entain's European business and MGM buy out the joint venture BetMGM and get 100% of that in the US. So DraftKings is going to be able to get the international exposure, and MGM will be able to have 100% of their joint venture in the US. I think both companies win under those circumstances. And again, DraftKings, if you want to talk about the brand not growing, I mean, the US market is just exploding. And also, if they can acquire a European company and expand into some other countries and gain share over there, I like the story, and I'm looking to see if DraftKings comes below 50. This is one I wish I would have gotten in before the football season, right? I called it out, but I didn't put my money where my mouth was. If this pulls back too much, I'll be looking to buy here.
All right. Well, you guys know how I like to point out my peaks and troughs here. So you got a one up move, a one down move, a second up move, second down move. Then we came up towards this third resistance try. Now that we got this kind of look, the key is that we hold this support. As long as we can keep holding the support, yes, I'm going to draw a circle even slightly underneath that. So maybe even going down closer towards 48. But that's the buy zone for me right now. I'm going to look for it to come near this trend line, or maybe even just come sideways here, then come closer towards it near October. But somewhere between 52, 50, and 48, I like that area. We'll see what happens at DKNG when it gets into that area and starts leveling out. And I mean, if it does do that, then it can, very easily do this kind of move where it's stuck in the pattern, right? And this is why I draw this out, guys, so you can see it. And then, so the idea is for it to get somewhere in here, maybe even wick past it for a second, but come back up through that resistance, which would be the fourth test and the breakout move. We'll see what happens on DKNG if this happens. And you guys can thank me. Send me the NFT.
Yeah, I'll be buying that NFT. It's looking good, Mitch. And maybe we can get some animation
These
or
are
something
as straight as my lines get
to those
guys.
lines. So, Mitch, SoFi, SOFI. I mentioned this at the top of the show, right? It got a price target of $25 and $28 recently from two analysts. This thing's getting attention from analysts. It also has a story of a catalyst, right? They have a bank charter announcement hopefully coming soon. They did hire a former head of several U.S. banking companies. I don't know if I talked about that on the show before, but that was a catalyst called out by some, across social media. SoFi, I am long shares here, and I got in, I think $14.75 was my cost basis here. I was always looking that $14 to $15 level. I waited for this to pull back, right? This was a high flyer. We did see this over 20. But now, I took a stab, right? $14.75, and I am waiting to get the bank charter announcement. So I'm holding here, and I'm up, and we'll see what happens. Mitch, what do you think?
I do my hands like this when I'm like, yo, Chris, send me those shares, bro. I'll take them from you, man. Yeah, no, this is nice, man. Nice look. I mean, when we started coming down, even earlier when we were coming down here, what did we do? We ended up pointing a support at 14. We said, can we get down towards that level and kind of hold there? We wanted to see what would happen there. And then we said, what was the next level? We said was 12. Just in case, you got to keep giving the levels that you're giving there. 12 was the next level down if we were going to break 14. But what ended up happening is we got that reversal signal there, and then it popped up, came back down. But now you got a real strong candle pushing up through all these red bodies. That's what you want to see. That's what you call engulfing, right? So the engulfing pattern is that it means you want to see to the left and see some red bodies, and it just get completely destroyed in one day. That shows you momentum on the way up. And if we look here on the monthly candle, what do you see? Clear support. That's what we wanted to see, guys. And we wanted to see what? We wanted to see a green candle start showing up on the monthlies. I would definitely have SoFi on my radar. Even at this level, it's starting to look interesting. And we know how much SoFi, their business and what they do. This is not something that, they're thinking about 5 years from now. They're making money right now.
Yeah.
And that's why you got to pay attention to SPACs like these today, not 5 years looking. So there's always different baskets of SPACs. Guys, know what basket your SPAC is a part of. It's going to definitely help you on your investments.
Mitch, one more that I saw, TDAC. TDAC was one that I've called on a couple times. I was almost a buyer when this thing got under $11. I didn't take a stab at it. But over the last month, I mean, it went from being a flat trade under 11 to now getting several legs up past that $12 mark. And this is one that, again, it's already a lower float name, right? Because it did have some share vote extensions, and it has the story. It's online lottery and sports betting in the future. So I still like TDAC. And this thing's starting to get more attention. The volume hasn't been picking up as much, but the shares have been increasing in value. Anything you see with TDAC here, Mitch?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those clear examples where you get those. I call these the retail washout trade, because what ends up happening is, we all trying to draw levels, right? We all would be like, okay, well, support somewhere here, 1150s, 11, right? And so what happens a lot of times is we'll get a crack through a major support level, and then it breaks to the next level, but quickly recovers. That's a sign. That's a bullish sign, even though it's bearish because you crack the support. But once you see that quick recovery and you see kind of what we call the U effect, you see how this kind of looks like a U. That's what you want to be looking for. That gives you that sign that, okay, so the momentum went down, but the trend quickly reversed, and that's what you want to see. And then so when you get back above the support, you want to see if that support goes ahead and starts holding. Look what happens, guys. We get back above. It breaks out above, but it comes back and tries to find support near that same level, then breaks out. This is why we always got to know our levels and understanding that trends change sometimes on a daily. It could be that quickly, The trend came sideways, and what happened? Sideways action, couple days, consolidation. Then we broke out of it with what? A nice volume, because the volume was decreasing here. Breakout with nice volume, you get that continuation run. You got to push towards 1260, comes back, tries to find support. Let's see the daily support. If you can see, the daily wicks are more closer down towards here. And look where the stock actually goes to. Right there, multiple times, wicking here towards 1140. Having a down move here, a low of 1128, a close of 1150, showing you that it wanted to hold those 1140s, and then you get that reversal swing. That's how we attack these, and it's not a bad trade there, Chris. I think you were looking at the 11s, and not a bad trade there, and good to always see like, hey, we came down through support, we're back above it. I'm going to take it right here, and I'll just hold right below it at the low. It could have even been down towards 11 here, and you're going into 1150s. 50-cent risk for a move back up towards 1272. That's a 2-to-1 trade. I'll take it.
Definitely still on my watch list, Mitch. What else are you seeing, Mitch? I just mentioned a couple. Anything standing out today? Movers for you?
Yeah, I'm going to move actually from the downside here just to point out some stocks. We'll call out what's recently been working for them, and then we're going to go into a little bit more in depth like we've been doing. So first one I wanted to call out was LAZR, because they were at our EV conference, and I think that was an important interview to watch. If you didn't see that one, and you're an LAZR fan, what are you doing? I understand if you even interrupt us right now because you're like, hold up, maybe I missed something there. Go check it out, guys. I definitely would keep this one on my radar. And for that being said, I've talked about autonomous first, before the EV vehicles get running. All right, let's go ahead. Let's get up. I'm going to keep moving up here. So PaySafe starting to find a bottoming action here. I know some people that are taking some swings on this one. I cannot blame them for taking some starting swings on PaySafe. So, of course, this is, I think, still early. But if you're taking swings, just know always your out levels, and that's what matters. I want to give a public position out here. I did start my position in DM. Again, Chris, I took the shot. Like I just talked about, I'm going to have my out level, but I also want to start taking a shot if this is going to start turning around. I believe on the story, the fundamentals, the technicals haven't been there, but now I'm starting to see some bottoming action. And what do I see? I see a big volume bar here, 13 million a couple of days prior. I'll take a shot off that level right here. So 750s right now is kind of looking like my downside. I took a shot at 770 yesterday at the end of the day. And then today I actually added to the position today, Chris, at 780. So I'm at 775 right now. And this hasn't moved much, but I want to let you guys know because I like to give you guys my positions early. So if this moves 30%, you guys can't be like, oh, well, you're a little cherry picker.
Yeah, I mean, DM I've been looking at for a long time, right? I was in this one before the merger completed months ago, got out. It fell, right? This thing, I mean, fell dramatically, but we keep trying to find, where's the bottom? And I think, you've pointed that out, Mitch, that we're starting to see, that 750 level. This one, I'm curious to see, will we get more news going into earnings? It looks like earnings will be around November-ish. They've acquired a lot of companies. They've announced a lot of new technologies. Will they have news out between now and earnings, or will that all come out on earnings? But we're seeing, not just the current SPAC votes get attention, right? We're seeing people look and find this DeSPACs under $10 that have good, solid fundamentals, good, solid story. And I think Desktop Metal is going to get found again. So not a huge, I mean, why not take the risk here?
We'll see what happens. But always, you just got to have your out plan. I always think, and I've changed my mentality on this. When I was a little bit younger, I'll say it, I was a little naive. But one of the things I've always understood now is that as long as you have a plan of attack, that's a good trade. Even if it isn't a good trade, if I don't feel it's a good trade or Chris doesn't feel it's a good trade, that doesn't really matter. The key is having that plan of attack. If you got that, power to you guys. Let's go ahead. Let's keep going. What do you guys think about VR AR? Do you know that one, Chris?
What is it?
I haven't heard that one. Let's take a look here.
VR AR. I think this was an IPO recently.
Looks like it.
Yeah.
Let me see what it does at least here.
Virtual reality and augmented, I would assume. Yep. Virtual and augmented reality platform company. Looks like we got a market cap of under 100 million. The Glimpse Group. Earnings coming out at September 28th. So next week. So I'll tune in and see what we get out of earnings. I mean, I love the VR space, the AR space. So definitely on watch. But yeah, it was a low float IPO. Yeah.
So we got Matt Hammond for. Come on, man. We got this. You know my man Matt Hammond coming quick in the chat. Guys, I'll tell you on this VR AR, look for that classic where an IPO undercuts really quickly and then breaks out. That's what I would look for in this one. Follow an undercut on that earnings and then a rip up. Let's go to a big mover here. Looks like the Ride is getting a nice push on up. Circulated as a short stock, trying to be neutral here, Chris. I'll stay neutral.
I'll stay neutral too.
Hey, there's a kind of like a head and shoulders, an inverse head and shoulders pattern here. If I just want to go off purely technicals here, I could draw it out here. I could show you guys. So pretty much like you could draw like this as the left shoulder. This is our head right here. And then we come up over here and you kind of see this action. So this is our head. This is the left, the right shoulder. The key would be for it to hold sideways here and never crack that again. You never even want to come in this area. So from now on, you just want to see it push. If that's what you believe, that's the inverse hammer, the inverse head and shoulders at the bottom, and it's going to start to push, that's what you want to see. You want to see quick reactions and it getting through resistance, major resistance, which is the next stop is $8. $8 is going to be important. We'll see what happens at $8.
Mitch, if this is being mentioned as a short squeeze candidate and getting retail, interest, the volume on the bottom there, though, doesn't look like it's going up a ton. I mean, we saw that big spike there, but if you look at the dailies, I don't know. I just don't see a big move coming for Ride, but that's just my opinion.
It's this bullish volume. It's this bullish volume. Like we can be honest. It's not the volume that's coming in on the last days. It retraced. What did it try to do? It tried to fill the gap, right? That was right here in this area, and it didn't even fill it. Maybe this wick got close to it, but it didn't fill it, and it showed right back up towards that high. That high is going to be so important. Whereas the high, 779. When you get up towards that level, you're going to need some volume to really get it through that level. And you want to see kind of maybe half that volume show up again to show you that maybe it's someone that took a big position and then they add to it on the breakout, pushing above that. We'll see what happens with Ride. Keep your eyes on it. Of course, it could keep burning.
We got someone in the chat asking about TMC. Go ahead and after the show's done, go back. We covered TMC earlier with a little rant and some details, so definitely check that out.
Smash up, guys. We're getting towards the end of the show. We only got about 2 or 3 minutes left here, guys. So definitely wanted to call out that EV conference. If you didn't see it, check out some of the SPACs that were there. I think you'll definitely get something out of that. Last one I want to mention here. I'm wondering if we're gonna get some new Playboy NFTs, man, because I think it could be perfect timing with that being mentioned here. And I know you're the NFT guy, so
I haven't heard any new dates on the Playboy NFTs. I mean, when they announced those first, Mitch, they already announced like multiple artists, and they had kind of a game plan, but they haven't really attacked it, in my opinion. You know, NFTs are extremely hot right now. They've got great collaborations, but I'm not seeing the news cycle, come out for them. So I'm interested to see if we do get news soon.
Hey, I'll tell you one thing. You know how I always like to stay with the news flow, right? And so what this chart shows me is look for the news flow. So it doesn't tell me to get it in, but sometimes technicals will point to a direction. And then what you want to do is look to see if you get the catalyst to match the trend that you're starting to see on the chart. So like, let's say if 2 days from now, all of a sudden Playboy says they announce NFTs, I'll kind of understand, hey, the chart was showing that the trend followed, and now here comes the catalyst. Let's watch the boom. And that's what I'll be looking for.
Mitch, real quick before we go, how about Skills, SKLZ, Big Buck Hunter? I don't know. Will you be playing a hunting game and wagering your real money against another person to see who can get a deer first?
Well, Chris, if I wanted to do that, I'd probably go to my backyard and go hunting over there. I'm in Colorado. I'm pretty sure I can go deer hunting. But I got to say, everyone's been to a bar where they have like a deer hunting game.
There's always one. Yep.
And it gets you. It gets you.
People play it. So as much as I laugh about it, I think this is actually a decent catalyst for Skills. I mean, before they had a bunch of like bingo games, matching games, right? Not really the brand names for the betting against another person. Big Buck Hunter. Yeah, I mean, then you definitely shoot straight, right? So this is a big catalyst, I think, for them. But I want the NFL game. Maybe they just wanted to get this one out first, but give me the NFL game, and Skills, I think, is going to look real attractive here.
Hey, definitely. One of the things we need to do is see a change in the catalyst. You got a change, right? It wasn't the one you wanted, but look to see if it continues and the news flow just starts following in a positive sense for Skills. And that's what can turn it around here. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us today. I don't know if you were here earlier, but I got to give another shout out to Chris. Happy birthday, my friend. I hope you had a good time. I had a blast with you in Detroit. We got to go to that Tigers game, which was really, at least I've never been to that stadium. So I'll tell you one thing. I will always remember that moment with you, Chris.
Yep.
So thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
And like always, the SPACs attack. We're going to continue going at it. We've done this for, I think, over a year now. I gotta see when our first show was.
I think October. I think we're getting
close.
to a year. We gotta find the date. We definitely gotta find the date.
We're close. Definitely. There's some shout outs there for you. Happy birthday, man. You do a lot for us here at Benzinga, and I appreciate it without a doubt. And it looks like the chat does too.
Yeah, thank you to everyone in the chat too. So I read all these comments. So thank you everyone out there. Stay tuned. We got Power Hour coming up next. They got a lot of interviews today, Mitch. I think I saw that they got 4 interviews. So
yeah, I got to get you guys over there.
Yeah, don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Power Hour, they're on the clock. Let's go.
All right, guys. But before we get on out of here, I do want to tell you guys one last thing here. You guys do me the favor. Go join up Chris on the roadmap today. Yes, he's going to have an NFT show later today. If you guys haven't heard about it, Chris does an NFT show. Go to there for his birthday. Let's show up. Let's bring the squad. Zinger Nation, we're out. We'll see you next time. Like always, guys, hit the like and hit the subscribe, man. If you're not subscribed already, what are you missing?